'Cause you seem to be feeling beat. No attention on the seat. Always gearing up for more. Got to love complimentary rides. The elation you can't hide. What will you bring out that door? It's time, yeah. You know you feel so right. No need to change the vibe. Oh, sweet honey, it feels right. Oh, friend.
Test. There we go. All right. Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. I thought about that a lot when it comes down to ROI, return on investment, and another thing I refer to as return on importance. So you think about a return on investment, it's a very standard thing. You put in $100, you get a 10% ROI, you make $10 on your $100 investment. We all understand that. The difference is when it comes to a return on importance. How do you make other people feel important? How do you feel important? And how does that show up? So we go back to the 1930s. Who was the president of the largest gas company? Who was the president of the New York Stock Exchange? Who was the greatest grain speculator? Who was the president of the largest bank in New York? Who was the greatest stock speculator? Who held one of the biggest monopolies ever? And who ran one of the largest utility companies? Think about ROI. All 7 of these men were focused on one thing and one thing only, and that was profits. It's all they cared about. Well, Howard was the president of the Associated Gas and Electric Company, went to jail for mail fraud and tax evasion, and died in an insane asylum. Richard was president of the New York Stock Exchange, sentenced to 10 years in Sing Sing prison for embezzling and grand larceny. You got Arthur, who once was the richest person in America in the 1920s, then lost a fortune and spent the rest of his life in court fighting allegations of illegal trading, dying of a heart attack right before his trial. Leon was the president of the Bank of International Settlements and ended up committing suicide 10 years later. Jesse was a famous stock speculator who made over $100 million during the Great Depression, ended up committing suicide. And Ivar developed a pyramid scheme which took down some of the biggest companies of the time, had the largest bankruptcy in 1932, and later committed suicide. Samuel ran one of the largest utility companies, over-leveraged it, and crashed it in 1932, then fleeing to Greece to escape trial for mail fraud, embezzlement, and violation of Bankruptcy Act. He was ultimately acquitted and died of a heart attack in Paris subway station with 20 cents in his pocket. And I'm not saying when you seek only ROI as return on investment, you end up like these guys, but we saw the same thing happen in every single recession. So if you remember 2008, Enron, all those collapses all happened because people only focused on the dollar. You look at during COVID, and right now the inflation, what's the problem? It's corporate greed. People are always pushing so hard for that dollar, but not thinking anything about how it makes other people feel. So when you look at your life, you think about return on importance, there is one all-important law of human conduct. If we obey that law, we shall almost never get into trouble. In fact, that law, if obeyed, will bring us countless friends and constant happiness. But the very instant we break the law, we shall get into endless trouble. The law is this: always make the other person feel important. So let's look at your life. Who makes you feel important? Just think about it for a second. Is it a grandparent? Maybe it was a teacher growing up. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it's your partner. We all have that person that makes us feel important. Would you agree with that? You can instantly think of somebody who makes you feel important, right? The reverse is true. You can instantly think of somebody who makes you not feel important, who makes you angry, frustrated, mad. But tonight what we're going to discover is what makes you feel important, what makes you connect to who you are, and then more importantly, how do you use that to change your business, use AI, connect to other people, change the way you show up in the world. So for those of you who haven't done your drive, I'm going to walk you through what's called the drive system. The drive system helps you identify what triggers you, what makes you think, what makes you act. So very simply, what you're going to do is you're going to read each one of these cards first, then read it a second time. And you're going to rank them and rate them based on how many words make you feel important, not what's important to you. So family and work can be important to you. Family and work may not make you feel important. So we're talking about that emotion where you feel on top of the world, where you're connected to who you are, your point of like exactly what you're doing in your life and why you feel that way. That's just, defined as a feeling of importance. So read these, will take 2, 3, 5 minutes. Rank them, the D, the R, the I, the V, the E, on your phone or on a piece of paper if you need to, and pick the 1 and 2 and order them on what makes you feel important. Now, if you get stuck between two of them, you're not sure which one to pick the card that you could not live without. So for those of you guys who come in, welcome. Simply just read the instructions here. You're going to rank these cards based off what makes you feel important, not what's important to you. So read them, organize them, and what makes you feel important. What makes you feel important is different than what is important to you. If you get stuck between two cards, just ask yourself, which one could you not live without? Your subconscious mind will instantly tell you what it is. Does everybody have that? Or do we need more time? I just want to make sure we're all good. Okay, perfect. If not, take a screenshot with it on your phone. We'll go from there. So if you chose the D, D is director. Where's my directors in the room? Raise your hands. We got 4 or 5. Perfect. Okay. So I'm a director. All about lifestyle. What makes me feel important is being free and adventurous, being creative and very passionate, very purpose-driven. So for you directors, do you agree with that? Is that the same as you? Yes and yes? All right. Where's my relators? R is for relators. Perfect. You guys feel important through your relationships when you're very service-minded and you're very compassionate and giving. But the relators, is that fair for you? Is that it? You're out? Okay, for our intellectuals, where's the intellectuals? We have any in the, yeah, of course we got him. That's right. It's always just like one dude. It's just like one, there you go, Christian, for supporting it. So Christian feels important when he's learning something new, relying on his knowledge, and being organized. Is that accurate? Attaboy. My validators, where's the V's in the room? Validators, fantastic too, wonderful. So validators feel important when they're being respected and trusted, when they're giving themselves self-acceptance and being needed. Is that a fair synopsis? Beautiful. My executives, where's the executives? 2, 3, beautiful. You guys feel important when you're winning, you have a sense of control, accomplishing a goal, and achieving a result. Is that accurate? Wonderful. Okay. So I want to go a little bit deeper and help you understand how you think, how you show up. I'm going to read these. When I get to your D.R.I.V.E., go ahead and close your eyes and just listen to this. See if it resonates with you. So for directors, they enjoy a good challenge and love to feel free and independent. They enjoy being creative, discovering new things, and enjoy experiencing life. They are great in social settings, putting together a variety of people and making something happen. They find joy in overcoming obstacles and making a difference in the world. So for my directors, is that accurate? Beautiful. Relators, go ahead and close your eyes. They know how to build strong, long-term, healthy relationships. In the workplace, their strength is in networking and building other people up to a higher level of productivity. They garner energy and security through their relationships. They are loyal to their friends and are service-minded. So for my relators, is that a fair synopsis? Beautiful, thank you, Matt. For our intellectuals or for Christian, he is stimulated intellectually either through books, speeches, research, conversation, or organization. Success comes when they accomplish a task, would rather be learning something new than just lying around. They are driven to understand and be more knowledgeable. They like to share what they know with others. Is that accurate? Attaboy. All right, validators. Go ahead and close your eyes. They enjoy intimate, small groups of people where they are being validated. Often they are wonderful at giving validation to others. Their confidence stems from the strength of their relationships. If they feel they are in a healthy, caring, and trusted relationship, they feel strong, secure, and loved. Is that accurate for you, validators? Thank you. And our executives, go ahead and close your eyes. They are productive and thrive on getting the job done. Task-oriented and focused on getting results. They don't like small talk, would rather tackle a project than just sitting around wasting time. They're happiest when they are pursuing or achieving a desired goal. Is that accurate for you executives? Okay. So screenshot this. There's a bunch of these stickers on the table. Feel free to take them. I have people and myself, I put them on my laptop on the back of your phone. So when you're talking to people, you can understand what motivates them. Directors are motivated by lifestyle. Relators are motivated by community. Intellectuals are motivated by systems. Validators want to be admired, and executives want proof. So if we know this is what motivates us, this is what moves us, why do we quit? Why do we give up? We give up and we quit when we don't feel important. Think about either a relationship you've been in, maybe a job, maybe school, maybe it's something that you were part of, and you just said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be part of this. I've done that many times in my life. I've been a serial entrepreneur since I was 16. I've had 6 or 7 different companies. Every one of them changed the second I wasn't getting my drive met anymore. So if you look during COVID, there was this huge thing called the quiet resignation. They did a research figuring out, and they just interviewed people as they left and asked them, they asked over, it was 19,000 people exiting their job, what's the number one reason why you left? And all of them said they felt unrecognized. How many of you guys have felt unrecognized in your job? How many have left because you didn't feel unrecognized, because you felt unrecognized, right? So we already know we're changing our behavior, we're changing how we show up in the world based on whether or not we feel important in that scenario. So here's why we quit. We quit. If you're a director, if you aren't feeling free and creative and you're not hitting your life's purpose, this is why you leave. If you do, how many of you guys manage people or in sales and you deal with a lot of people, right? If you want to know the secret to why they leave or jump companies, it's this sheet right here. When relators don't have the influence they want, they're not in the relationships the way they want, they're not connecting to their family and friends. Intellectuals, if they don't feel organized or are not honoring their standards, relying on their knowledge, learning, this is why they'll leave or quit. Validators, if they don't feel respected, being praised, recognized, trusted. Executives, if they don't have a sense of control or winning, or they're not providing or solving problems the way they want to, they will quit every single time. Yes?
About the why.
Yeah.
Is it really, you think it's, or, you know, one of those actions.
Sure.
Find actions more influential in doing it, or really more a downbeat whether they have the ability to consider.
100% this. Whether they have the ability or not that's the whole reason I do these Thursday night events, is for people to understand why they do what they do. Because as soon as you understand why you do what you do, you can change how you go about it. But if you do not know why you do what you do, and most of us don't, we live subconsciously, and let's go to the excuse thing. We all do it. I call this a pile on. Whether you're in a fight with your spouse or whether you're justifying a certain behavior, you pile on justifications as to why you feel that way. And if you just analyze it, you take it back, it's this. It's because your drive isn't getting met. You no longer feel important in that one area. Then you look for justifiable reasons why to quit, to save face, to protect your drive. As you look back on your life, Bill, did you see that combination? Do the rest of you guys see that? Thinking about ways you've quit and why you've stopped. It happens to the biggest people on the planet. Take the Beatles. They did 7 albums in 3 years in the 60s. Then one night they got together and they were playing at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. They got shoved in the back of a like a Wells Fargo van. They're looking around and they're like, I'm done. I'm done doing it. I'm sick of feeling like a piece of meat and just being thrown around. So they just quit. They literally just quit. That and Oko. Yes.
Like championship sports break up.
Spot on. 100%. Music, sports, business, families, religions, government, doesn't matter. I'm addicted to the why. Like, why do we do what we do? And I search it and research it over and over again. And I looked at the Beatles, and then they had this moment where they got together and they said, what if we were to create our own album our own way, even if we didn't release it to anybody? What if we just did that? Meaning, what can we do to feel important for us, by us? And the last album they did was Sgt. Pepper. And the reason they did this whole cover and created their own uniforms is they didn't want to be, quote unquote, the Beatles anymore. They just created Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And that album went on to be the top-selling album in history, well, besides Michael Jackson's. But they even went on to sell 290 million albums. And when Rolling Stone at the turn of the century decided to make the number one album, it was that album. Because they did it from the inside. They validated who they were. They cared enough about their actions, and that energy definitely vibrated and translated into being one of the top albums of all time. So when you look at your drive is neutral by nature. Nobody has a good or bad drive. There's not a better drive than another drive. It's all the same. But you have things that make you feel unimportant, and you have things that make you feel important. So when you feel unimportant, this is where all these emotions crash. And Bill, like what you're talking about, the fear, the anxiety, the ego, depression, loneliness, all this comes, all of it is generated emotionally from the inside out. The second we don't feel important, we just justify every ounce of behavior on the planet. But when we're feeling important, when we feel connected to who we are, to our drive, we feel bulletproof. We have hope, confidence, strength. Like we feel like we can do anything. Let's do a fun exercise. Think of, okay, what's the greatest risk you've ever taken? And then ask yourself, was it worth it? What's the greatest risk you've ever taken? And was it worth it? And if somebody would share who's got an experience of something that took a huge risk, yes.
So I did a video of this kind of
Heard about him, yep.
as a year-old, I won the and I had this like small GoPro to the camera. But I wanted nice camera. I didn't want to do it for $5,000. So
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna go buy my camera. So that's one of those.
Beautiful. So what is your drive? Are you director, relator? Relator, okay. So did you use your relationships to get into that competition to be able to submit to Grant Cardone?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you feel important doing it for you, by you? Like, did you feel internally confident in your process? Beautiful, okay. And then that led to you feeling important, and then you acted differently, you showed up differently, and you won the prize. Beautiful. Okay, who else has had this experience where you felt like you had to take a risk, you took that risk, and was it worth it to you? Saw some other, yes.
You and I have been with both, right?
Yep.
And I have lots of memories. I remember yeah, me, it's downtown Disney for me.
Yep. Yep.
What you don't know is that but I can't that were very important. I would explain all that. But without was important. The risk
Yep.
was important. The big deal put seemed like
Yep. You know, I'm glad you brought that up. I've coached one-on-one for 20 plus years, and the number one thing I see with every client I have ever had, they quit playing. They absolutely quit playing. If you're over the age of 40, I wanted you to think, when's the last time you actually played? When's the last time you actually did something super fun, like over the top enjoyable? When you think of a child can cry, scream, kick. You give them a new Hot Wheel, and all of a sudden they're happy as can be, and they're playing, and their mood shifts instantly. Why do we think when we get older that's changed? That's a learned behavior for 20 years. And all of a sudden now we're being adult. And I have found that when you come to be feeling important with your drive, the more you play in whatever drive you have, and you spend that time, you will change your behavior almost faster than anything else. Because what you're doing is you're getting back to who you really are. At the end of the day, we are so focused on tomorrow, the next day, the next opportunity, we never live in the moment. We never just take it in and breathe and have fun. A 3-year-old is not worried about tomorrow. They could care less. All they want to do is be in the moment and have fun. Think of a dog or a puppy, if you will. They don't plan anything else. They're just in the moment and they're fun. You love them, you play with them. So when it comes to feeling important, it's getting back into that moment, be connecting to who you really are. So you have what's called your primary drive and a secondary drive. So the first one you chose is your primary. The second one is your secondary. So think of it as your car. So why you do what you do, that's the car. So for me, I'm a director. So I'm all about lifestyles. I'm motivated by lifestyle, how I show up in the world, how I want to be perceived in the world. It's all through lifestyle. Your secondary drive is the gas that you fuel that car to get what you want. So I'm what's called a director executive. So executive is all about proof. So winning, having control, achieving, overcoming obstacles, working. I will do that to fuel the lifestyle. Does that make sense? The primary and secondary. Okay. So you have your car, your fuel, and this is how you go through your life. This next part's gonna be really fun. I'm gonna get 5 separate stories. I want you to see how these individuals change their stars, if you will, change the entire outcome of their life simply by feeling important. It's that simple. I mean, it's in business and in life, it's always about negotiations, it's about capital, it's about resources. But when you break it down to making decisions and having the guts to go for it, it comes down to do you or do you not feel important? It's that simple. So looking at a bunch of fun people, Richard Branson, he's a director. He's all about lifestyle. So he owns Necker Island. He owns a Virgin, it used to be Virgin Atlantic. So Virgin Airlines, he's got Virgin Records, Virgin Cola, Virgin Mobile. Every brand he has is all about lifestyle. How he does it is through his community, through his relationships. So when he launched Virgin Music, he signed this guy named Mike Oldfield, and this guy is kind of like a new age artist, making pipes and noises and sounds. And this was in the late 70s, and they were launching, the entire company was based on this one guy. And they were going to do this huge concert hall. It's called Queen Elizabeth Hall in London. And they even had one of the guitarists from the Rolling Stones playing live on the album. And Mike shows up at Richard's houseboat and says, "Hey man, I can't go on stage." Now imagine, you have your entire company on the line. You have bet the farm on this guy, and he says, "Hey man, I can't do it. I just stage fright. I'm not going to do it." And Richard's like, "Okay, let's go for a drive." And he had this old Bentley that his parents kind of gave him as a wedding gift. They're driving around, and he's doing everything he can do to convince him. And he just finally turned to Mike and said, "Mike, I will give you my car. I will give you this Bentley if you will just show up. I'll get out. I'll walk home. But if you keep driving around convincing yourself enough and show up at 7 p.m. tonight, this car is yours." And Richard got out of the car. And he sat at the Queen Elizabeth Hall on the steps waiting till 7 p.m. just to see if Mike would show up. Mike shows up, performs, standing ovation, and Richard and his wife have to walk home. And he's got to tell his wife that he's lost the only car that they own. He's got to call his parents and say, "I gave away the car you gave me as a wedding gift. I appreciate it." But because he's a relator, he knew he had those relationships. Think of it as like relationship capital. He knew he could go to his wife. He knew he'd go to his parents, and he knew it'd be okay. He knew that they would support his dream. That feeling of importance launched him and became a multi-billionaire. Fred Smith, intellectual. Secondary is a validator. When Fred was in college, he wrote the paper for creating FedEx. And the professor said, to get better than a C on this, you got to create a business that's actually feasibly, possibly, and he just gave him a C. But that, he's undeterred. As a validator, he respected himself. He trusted his gut. He believed in who he was. He knew he could create a system. So they raised money, they borrowed money, they bought the planes. They spent $19 million to launch. I think they had 11 planes and, if I remember correctly, 11 planes and 19 vans. $19 million they spend, they end up only shipping like 12 packages the first day. Like all that money. And so they're hungry and they're trying to make it survive. And it came down to his secondary drive where he literally had $5,000 left in his bank account. This was on a Friday. He'd been trying to raise money all week, flying around the country to raise money. Nobody would give him money. He's sitting at the airport in Kentucky, ready to go back home, and he sees a flight to Las Vegas. He thought, at this point, my company's under, I'll just go to Vegas. So he goes to Vegas, and for 72 hours, he bets his $5,000 to make $32,000 to make payroll Monday morning. He saved it because he trusted himself. He felt important enough to validate his own drive, to recognize his own ability to risk it all to make the dream a reality. Take Taylor Swift. She's a relator. If you've ever seen her, she's got her Swifties. She's so into her community. She's hardcore relator. Always about surprising people at Christmas time, getting backstage passes. But how she runs her company, how she shows up, is as an executive. So Apple decided to come out and they were going to do this streaming music and they weren't going to pay any royalties to any artist for the first 90 days. Well, being a relator, that bothered her. As a secondary drive, as executive, she's like, you know what? I'm going to stand up. I'm going to stand up for these people. So she writes this letter to CEO Ted, what's Ted Cook's first name? Tim Cook, thank you. I knew it was Tim. I find it to be shockingly disappointing and completely unlike this historically progressive and generous company. This is not about me. This is about the new artist or band that has just released their first single and will not be paid for its success. This is about the young songwriter who just got his or her first cut and the thought that the royalties from that would get them out of debt. This is about the producer who works tirelessly to innovate and create. Just like the innovators and creators at Apple are pioneering in their field, but will not get paid for a quarter of a year's worth of plays on his or her songs. We don't ask you for free iPhones. Please don't ask us to provide you with our music for no compensation. Less than 24 hours, Apple backed down, still made the trial for free, but out of their own pocket paid. You're talking about one person who moved $1 trillion company simply because of her drive. She felt that much confidence to stand up. And now you think about that. She could have been canceled by Apple. Apple could have taken her completely off their platform, but they didn't. They saw the error of their ways. They realized they weren't making other artists feel important. They backed down. Jerry Weintraub, is the guy who produced Ocean's 11, a bunch of movies. He is a validator, and then how he gets his validation is through his intellect. So he's an intellectual on a secondary. He was 25 years old, has this dream that he should take Elvis back on the road. Now, at this point, Elvis is retired. He'd done the acting thing and wasn't producing any music and wasn't performing at all. 25 years old, doesn't know anybody in the music industry, has this dream that he's at Madison Square Garden with Jerry Weintraub presents Elvis Presley. So he wakes up the next day, he calls up the Colonel, who has been Elvis's longtime manager, and the Colonel's like, I don't know who you are, and just hangs up on him. So he calls every single day for 9 months at the exact same time. The Colonel would say, not today, and hang up. After 9 months, the Colonel said, okay, here's the deal. You bring me $1 million in 24 hours, and I'll let you take Elvis on the road. 25 years old. Now I think he's 26. This is the 60s. He doesn't have $1 million. That's Rockefeller money. There's like no way he's going to get $1 million. So being an intellectual secondary, he creates this phone tree of calling people. Those people called people. He called hundreds of people, found a radio show owner up in Seattle, got him on the phone, said, I have this opportunity to take Elvis on the road. I need $1 million in like 8 hours now. Will you give it to me? And the guy said, well, what do I get out of it? He goes, I'll give you half of everything I make from Elvis. The guy said, absolutely, let's roll. He wires the money to Las Vegas. Imagine this, you're in Seattle, you wire $1 million to somebody in Las Vegas you don't know. But it was through a relationship, and that's how the guy felt confident enough. He gets to the Hilton where the colonel said, I'll be at the roulette table, be there at 9 a.m. Pulls up at 9 a.m. with a check for $1 million. Colonel looks at it, says, all right, let's go upstairs. Walks into the penthouse suite and says, Elvis, this kid's taking you on the road. Elvis looks around and says, all right, under one condition. I will not perform unless it's a sold-out show. Can you guarantee that? Now, he's never promoted. He's never sold a ticket, but as all young people, hell yeah, I can do that. Absolutely. No questions asked. Everyone will be sold out. First concert, 6 months later, is in Miami-Dade County in Florida. They get there. It's a two-day concert, a matinee and an evening show, a matinee and an evening show. They get in there. Jerry sits down. He sees a stack of tickets behind the manager of the venue. He said, what are those? He said, oh, those are the tickets we didn't sell. He said, you told me they were sold out. What are you talking about? He said, well, I just told you what you wanted to hear. He's like, you don't understand. We got to sell these. He's like, well, that's on you, not me. So now the concert is in about 24 hours, and he has to have it sold out, and there's no way he's going to. This is before the internet. This is before blasting out emails. There's no way. So he goes across the street to the sheriff's station with a duffel bag of money, goes into the sheriff and says, here's the deal. I need to hire all your inmates to pull chairs out of the stadium. We got to pull them out and put them in the parking lot. And in the night show, we got to put them back in. He's like, are you out of your mind? He goes, I was like 50 grand. He goes, I will pay you, pay them. I don't care who uses money. So what they did is they took out the seats for the matinee that were not sold, so it looked like it was sold out. And in theory, it was. All the seats that were there were occupied. And they had to put them back for the evening show because that did sell out. At the end of the 2 days, Elvis came up to him and said, you know, I don't know what it is about the matinees, but they're not as lively as the evening shows. Let's just stick to the evening shows. And Elvis never knew about it. He did that because of his secondary drive. As an intellect, he was able to find the process. He was able to find the solution. Floyd Mayweather, his primary is an executive, his secondary is a director. So when he got into boxing, as most boxers never make any money, and he'd done it for 10 years, and he's like, you know what? I want to fight some real, like real champions. I want to fight Oscar De La Hoya. And his manager said, no. Like, there's no one's going to pay to see you fight Oscar. And I'm not going to put up the money for it, and it's just not going to happen. So his manager kept trying to give him the other people to fight with, and he just kept turning it down. And finally, as a director, feeling free and independent, feeling like he could create his own business, he said, I want to buy out my contract. So what do you mean you want to buy out? He goes, I want to buy back my identity, my contract. It's like, hey, 700 grand. He musters up, finds the money, brings $700 grand to the table, then goes to Oscar's guys and says, hey, how much do you need to get paid? Creates his business model together, and he opens up Mayweather Productions. So from 96 to 2006, so a 10-year span, he only made $10 million. After owning his own company, in that 14 years, he ended up making $900 million. All because he felt important enough to tap into his strength to change his world. It's the same recipe no matter what your drive is. Wherever you want to get to, whatever glass ceiling you want to break, no one's going to break it for you. It's always going to have to come from within. It's physically impossible to do it any other way. As you look back on your life, you look at your drive, do you guys see how your secondary drive has shown up? Do you see how you have your primary? So I'm a director. My secondary is executive. Do you guys see how your primary is influenced by your secondary? And does anyone have an experience you're willing to share? I'm going to call on you. I know you got one. What's your primary and secondary?
So primary is executive.
Okay.
Secondary is
Perfect. So primary is executive because of the people who are watching at home. Secondary is relator. How do you use your relationships in a positive, healthy way to win and have the life that you want to have?
So just recently, I guess I'll just go with what I'm doing currently. So I've been in construction essentially my whole life and stuff, but I've kind of veered off. I've done other ventures. I've gone and done, different things. Worked for other people and stuff. Didn't meet my drive. I was like,
Yep.
out. And so the end of last year, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? We just set up some short-term rentals and stuff like that. And so the end of last year, I made the decision that I was going to start up the construction company. So I went to my dad and I was like, I'm taking it over. I want control.
Yeah, control, executive wants control, shocker.
And he's like, great, I still want to be part of it. And I'm like, awesome, have part of it, whatever. I want everything.
Yep.
And so so for the first 4 months, kind of going into it and stuff, using the relationships that I have with other agents, with getting stuff on Facebook and different things.
Yep.
People I've met through networking and stuff. Those first 4 months, I had just under $70,000.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a perfect example. Christian, you sent me a text just recently with your drive when you were having a problem and then you basically were feeling unimportant at work, correct? And what did you do with your primary and secondary to re-engage them? What was the outcome?
Yeah, so my primary is flex. So how does that work? I just really grow like someone being like I have to grow.
Yeah.
If I'm not growing, that's like my core value in my life. So I was at this point where I was really growing, and there's much I was supposed to do, but I just working at home. And I knew that I was where I was at work. I was way above where I should. Incredible opportunity, but way underqualified. It was like first time I ever been doing here. And so I sat back, thought about it. I was like, hey, who do I know that can reach out to that can then help me be able to figure out my system to get me to be able to feel like that. So I reached out to a bunch of people, got connections. I ended up finding a guy who's incredible at what I do, and I started talking to him, making calls, and with his help, I was able to create this really cool system.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. So for the rest of you, do you see in your personal life how you're using your secondary drive every day, subconsciously or consciously, getting your primary met? Does that make sense? I want to be very clear. If not, please ask any questions. This is going to be very interactive. Do y'all see how that works? Good? All right. Okay, I want to transition now into AI and tie these all together. So throughout history, throughout all of mankind, there's been 5 very disruptive time periods. So you had the hunter-gatherer stage, and that lasted for a couple million years. Then you had the agricultural age, which lasted a couple thousand years. Then you had the industrial age, which lasted a couple hundred years. And then in the 80s, we had the information age, which lasted a couple of decades. After those 4, we're now in our 5th stage of transformation, if you will, in the entire world, what's called the augmentative age or the AI age. How many of you guys have played with AI? How many of you are blown away by AI and the power of AI? It's like mind and earth shattering, right? So a couple great quotes on AI. Elon Musk said, AI will enable us to achieve things that we can't even dream of today, unlock the door to the future of unimaginable possibilities. Peter Diamandis, who's the founder of the X Prize, said, AI has the power to revolutionize human society by unlocking our creative potential. By embracing it, the future will be filled with abundance, innovation, and opportunity for all. And Mark Cuban said, AI is going to change everything. We're going through a technology revolution right now, and AI is at the forefront. If you don't understand it, you're going to be a dinosaur within 3 years. How many of you feel that way? Like you honestly think of all the people who are not embracing AI, who are not seeing it, you just think that there's no way they're going to keep up. I totally feel that way. Someone once said, and I love this quote, is AI will not replace you. The person who's using AI will replace you. That's the reality. If you understand the power of AI, you understand what it can do, you are light years ahead. Like you look at these other 5 transformational periods of time, they took millions of years, thousands of years, hundreds of years, decades. Now we're down into days and weeks. AI has been around for a while, but when ChatGPT came out and became public was November 30th. So we are 5-6 months in, and it's already changed industries. Massive companies have laid off people. It is changing the way people show up, how they act. So I was thinking about this, and then I was thinking about how does AI work with what makes us feel important? How do you use AI to connect to who you really are? How do you use AI to better humanity, to liberate humanity? During the information age, there was a young man, 1994, read a quote that came across his desk. He was working at D.R.I.V.E, which is a stock company out in New York, and he was in charge of all the technology. He was in charge of all the new advancements. So he's reading all these papers and all those studies, and sees a study that said the internet, 1994, internet was compounding at 2,300% per year. And in his gut, he's like, I gotta be part of that. Like, I wanna be part of this. This is so important. I can see the future. But if something's compounding at 2,300% per year, how the heck are you ever gonna keep up with it? And he asked what I think is the absolute most important discussion or question you can ask in human existence. He asked, what is not going to change? And that person was Jeff Bezos. He quit his job as a stockbroker and formed Amazon on the concept of what is not going to change. He looked at all the products. He had a list of 5,000 products. He whittled it down to 50 products, 10 products, 5 products, 1 product, books. Books hadn't changed in 400 years since the printing press. He launched Amazon with books. So when AI started getting popular, I thought, oh, I'm scared to death right now. I mean, it can change my industry. It could change, I'm a speaker, trainer, author, and I'm thinking it revolutionizes that. So I went onto AI and I typed in the Jeff Bezos story, and I said, here's the story. Do you understand the story? And knowing what AI is, what's not going to change in AI? And the answer it gave me, I want you to take strong notes on, take a picture of it. I think it's, if you want to be a Jeff Bezos, if you want to project in 20 years, it's based off this answer. So this is AI answering that question, what's not going to change? AI said, human need for communication and connection. Empathy and understanding in all types of relationships, fundamental principles of ethical and moral decision-making, need for creativity and innovation in problem solving, importance of lifelong learning and personal growth. So I cut into my page to that. I went back to AI. I said, okay, this is great. Can you sum it up in one sentence that I can memorize it, never forget it? And this is what it said. In the future, what's not going to change? A successful business prioritizes human connection, ethical decision-making, creativity, and personal growth. If you notice that answer, it has nothing to do with your current job. Think about that. It doesn't matter what you do, if it isn't this or tied to this in some way, it's going to be replaced. That rocked my world. That inspired the Thursday night get-togethers. Because these Thursday nights, human connection, ethical decision-making, creativity, personal growth. The reason I do these Thursdays, even when I go to Europe, I'm still going to do them, and I want to post them and host them and have you guys come on board, is I want us to be together for the long haul. I don't want AI to come in and disrupt humanity in such a way that we don't connect anymore with one another. So if you look at this, AI supports each drive. If you want to be a director, or if not want to be, if you are a director, how can you use AI to be creative, to feel free and independent, to connect to your life's purpose? As a relator, how do you use it for more influence, to connect deeper in your relationships? Especially for, as an intellectual, that's like crack cocaine, right? Like AI is like in the veins, like that's right there. Validator, same thing, getting the respect, the love, appreciation, using AI to connect with people. And as executive, are you kidding me? Control, winning, providing security, solving problems. AI is phenomenal at that. So I thought, okay, let's play with this. And what prompts can we give AI to make us feel important? How do we use AI to get that human connection? Last week, for those of you who are here, my voice was really bad, and I ended up getting really sick and was laying down, honestly, for an entire week. This is the first thing I've done outside since last Thursday. And one of the days, I had a massive migraine. I mean, leveling me kind of migraine. I couldn't get out of bed. Went on for 6 hours. Didn't matter what I took. Nothing would alleviate it. During that time, I started just doing affirmations, just talking to myself out loud, positivity stuff. And I'm not a huge affirmation guy, even though I've been in personal development for 20 years. I just never really got into it. But it was the only thing I could think of. Like I was mumbling it, just trying to get some positivity in my head. And then I watched this video on Steve Harvey. You guys know who Steve Harvey is, the comedian? Amazing human being. And he tells this story of how he was literally homeless, living out of his car, had $35 to his name. He felt this calling, if you will. He's a very religious man. He's calling out to God, and God's like, if you will just follow me, you'll be fine. And he said, I quit, I gave up, I couldn't do it. He went, called his answer machine. There was a message for him and an opportunity for him to get to New York. And if he gets to New York, he'd get on the Apollo showcase. Now, he's in Florida. He's got $35 to his name. He cannot get there. There's no way. He just says, I'm going to give up. I can't do this. I'm going to quit. Checks his message machine, and there's a comedy club in Florida who said, hey, if you will come and perform this weekend, then we'll pay you $300. It was enough to buy an airline ticket. So he went to the comedy show, makes the money, goes to the Apollo, goes there, kills it, crushes it, has the time of his life. They fall in love with Steve Harvey. They give him the gig to be the host of the Apollo for 8 years, longest running in history for the Apollo. None of it would have happened had he quit. We quit when our drive isn't getting met. He wanted to give up, but by hanging on one more day, one more minute, literally, changed his entire world. So for me, in that moment, I realized something. As much as I love AI, as much as AI is absolutely profound, AI cannot currently, and I don't know if it ever will, but can't feel emotion. If you go on AI, and I'm a huge storyteller, story collector, and I ask AI to tell me a story, it'll give me the facts of the story. It will never give me the emotion of the story. It does not know how. It doesn't resonate with it. It doesn't connect. So if we're talking about feeling important, if we're talking about being able to connect to ourselves, AI will not do that, but you can. And you can use AI to break down anything mentally that holds you back. So here's the prompt I want you to use for AI. The struggle, the drive, the solution. So when you want to, if you're struggling in your life, whatever it is, it could be in personal, relationships, business, does not matter. Type in, I struggle with, and then name whatever you want. I am motivated by, and then put your drive there, and I'll show you how to do all of it. What can I do for me, by me? This is the key word, for me, by me. That means internally. So if you were to write this as a director, I struggle with having confidence. I am motivated by experiencing life, achieving my life's purpose, feeling free and independent, being creative, performing, overcoming challenges, and being confident in my appearance. So here's the solution. What can I do for me, by me, to build my confidence? Look at this. This is baller. So I did this on chat, and I'm going to do this live with you. So that's this. So you can see, yeah. So that's what I put in there. Look at this. Experiencing life, travel, meeting new people, achieving your life's purpose, setting goals, self-reflection, feeling free and independent, learn new skills, financial independence, and it breaks it down for you. Now you had, I hate to tell you this, but now you don't have to hire me. Like literally, this is a coaching for you. Like if you do this, if you identify your problem, if you identify your drive and you ask for the solution, AI can rock your world. I went in and I did for each drive. So where's my relators? Raise your hands. Okay, so for relators, this is what I put into relators. I struggle with giving too much to my family and friends. I am motivated by strengthening relationships, having a power of influence, giving service, spirituality, and connecting with family and friends. What can I do for me, by me, to set boundaries? Look at this. Self-reflection, defining your boundaries, communicating clearly, practicing assertiveness. It goes on and on. Staying consistent, self-care, seeking support. No longer do we have to run around life figuring out, why do I feel this way? Identify the struggle you have. It doesn't matter what it is, business, relationship, personal. Identify your drive and ask for the solution, and AI will give it to you. Christian, this is for you since you're the only intellectual. I struggle with not feeling like I have the right information for my job. I am motivated by using my knowledge, learning new information, being in the moment, honoring my standards, and feeling organized. What can I do for me, by me, to increase my confidence and knowledge? And it breaks it down. Continuous learning, organizing your knowledge, setting goals and tracking your progress, practicing mindfulness, seeking feedback. It is like having all the greatest intellectual minds at your fingertips. And it's free. Like if we don't use this, if we don't use AI to better humanity, that's on us. Like if AI comes in and kicks our ass, that's our fault. Like if we aren't going to use it now to change the world, that is 100% our fault. Because no matter what we're struggling with, we can break through. Where's my validators? Raise your hands, validators. 2, 3, perfect. I struggle with having not believing in myself and putting other people's needs above my own. I am motivated by recognizing my strengths, trust, respecting my decisions, and being confident. What can I do for me, by me, to boost myself up? Look at these. Once again, setting boundaries, engaging in yourself, practicing self-care. Learning, practicing, setting personal goals. Love it. Okay, last one here. My executives. Where's executives again? Perfect. I struggle with wanting to always win. I'm afraid it is natively affecting my relationships. I am motivated by winning, control, work, achieving my goals, creating security, providing and solving problems. What can I do for me, by me, to win more often but not hurt my relationships? Same thing. It gives you unbelievable answers. Once again, I've written 42 books. I've produced 3 movies, 3 infomercials. These answers are like 20 years of my life's work done in seconds. They just instantly. At first, I felt intimidated and I hated it. And I'm like, okay, it's here. How do I push my creativity? How do I push my limiting beliefs to, instead of fighting AI, embracing it and changing my own world? So going back, and then I'm going to go into Q&A, and I want to answer any questions you have. Here is, and take a screenshot of this. So for a director, here is where you put, I am motivated by. So if you're a director, if you want to influence other people, take a screenshot of that. For a relator, this is what you're motivated by. So this is where step 1, you identify your challenge. Step 2, your motivation, your drive. This is the prompt. You just cut and paste, drop that in. Intellectuals. Validators. Executives. So here's a couple examples of personal development ones that I went through, and I put them into D.R.I.V.E. or into AI. Came back. So if you're a director, once again, raise your hand for directors, just for fun. Okay, beautiful. Read this and see if this would work for you. Harness your creativity. Set aside dedicated time for creative pursuits, whether it's painting, writing, dancing, or any other form of self-expression. This will not only help you develop new skills, but also foster a sense of accomplishment and personal fulfillment. So for directors, if you were to do those activities, would it help you? Would it make you feel important? Right on. So relators, prioritize self-care. Schedule regular time for self-care activities such as exercise, meditation, or pursuing hobbies. When you prioritize your well-being, you'll be more equipped to support others and be a better parent or better friend. Intellectuals, customize your learning style. This I thought of you instantly. I thought this was insane, like how genius AI was on this. Customize your learning standards or learning styles. I never would have thought of that. Like that's insane. But AI, once again, has read over 1 trillion bits of information. It understands when you give the prompt of an intellectual, it says, oh, well, gosh, there's 3 learning styles, or maybe a mix of them. Why don't you prioritize that and now learn the way you really want to learn? Genius. Validators, take note of your achievements and celebrate them. Start keeping a journal where you can document your accomplishments, no matter how small they may seem. Celebrate yourself and reward yourself when you achieve a goal, whether it is as simple as cooking a meal for yourself or landing a new job. Acknowledge your progress and help build confidence and self-esteem. Do you know what pisses me off about this? So my first book I wrote in 2006, and I have a whole chapter on a thing called a shrine of success. I've taught this for 20 plus years about if you are not feeling validated, create your own shrine of success. And in a second, it printed that up. It knew it instantly. So use it. Use it. Executives, take calculated risks. Don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and try new things. Just be sure to weigh the risk and benefits carefully before making any major decisions. So this is my favorite part of the night. The rest of this is just going to be Q&A. What do you guys want to know about AI, Drive, how it works? What do you want to know about how to use Drive to increase your sales, using AI as a tool to help you increase your sales? What questions do you have? And the rest is just going to be networking and interactive, and then we'll close it up. Yes?
Well, that's fun. I remember, so I've had so many conversations with you about this. Like, literally my favorite. The fun thing is, I remember what he's saying, talk about how knowledge AI has. But with that, like AI has, he always said, like, you could ask AI to answer ways you would. So, give me like marketer, I'm like, what's marketing?
Yeah.
And I can find any of like the best marketers in the world. Like, big one I love Paul is go to ask, hey, respond as that you would reply to them. Today, I was talking with Leonard last night, and we had this whole conversation about it. And it was about like, AI, I want to hire you and what, and then you guys know how to chat for, etc. But I then asked like, what if you allow you, and it printed out this whole thing step by step on what I can do, hire them for it, and allowed me to, hey, you gotta work on this.
I love that.
And it was, I haven't even thought of this. Now, like, I'm motivated by this.
Yeah, if you want to use chat as a mentor, then all you have to do is say, here's what I am motivated by, here's my drive, educate me, mentor me on this. That'll work beautiful. I love that. What other thoughts, questions do you guys have? Yes? That's a great question. I'm going to repeat it just for those who are watching at home. Is there ever a time do I think that AI could hinder us, and if it isn't working? Anytime we get conditioned to using a technology and that technology isn't available, it does slow things down. But since we live in a capitalist society, there's billions of dollars at risk. People are very quick to fix it. So I don't ever see a problem where it will hinder us or stop us from progressing. I do believe, like all technologies, it's all in how you use it. And that's why I'm this huge bandwagon of use it for you, use it for humanity, use it to learn to internally validate yourself so you have the courage and the strength to take the risk in life you need to, and then use it in your business any way you can. So there's a question up here. Taylor, did you have a question? Thought I saw someone raise, Yes. Currently, AI will not take into effect emotions. It doesn't even acknowledge them. If you ask it an emotional question, it'll always, as a pre-prompt, it says, I'm just an AI service. I can't, tell you what you can feel and things like that. There's a thing called being sentient, where there's a theory of down the road, does AI become aware? At that point, we've never crossed that threshold. We don't know. But between now and then, the more we use it to better humanity, to help ourselves, help other people, yeah, it's a learning device. It may learn it. But I think the emotions of it being a human is so raw and real to humans, even more than animals, that it's hard for me to imagine a time where it can feel the way we feel. May or may not, though. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, lady. That's actually true because I have played with that. It does know emotion. It doesn't feel emotion, but it does know because there's times I've asked it to do mean things just to see, I want to push the envelope, see how far I can push it. And it said, no, it won't because of it would hurt somebody, it could cause pain, cause this. Since I work in the development space, human development space, I'll ask a lot of emotional things and it'll always say, I don't know, but other people may feel this way, may feel that way. And so, yeah, you have to take that into consideration when it comes to emotions. And then I haven't asked this question. This would be a good question because I do a lot of marketing with AI. I'll try this next time. At the end of it, say, how is this going to make someone feel? It'll be interesting to see what its answer is. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, my favorite thing to do is ask it to create open-ended questions because it's phenomenal. I mean, that's the hardest thing like in life and business and stuff. You're always trying to ask people questions, you're trying to engage people. But if you ask it, give me 10 open-ended questions by someone who's motivated by, and I give them director, relator, intellectual, and it gives me the best questions. I've used those in my coaching practice, I've used those in my business, and they work every time. Like it knows the questions. When you say, back to this, when you say motivated by, any of these right here, you say, my client is motivated by, so this obviously I wrote for helping you feel important, but if you wrote, my client is motivated by, and that same exact script, write me 10 open-ended questions, the answers are unbelievable. Like what it gives you is phenomenal. Beautiful. Yeah, Bill. Yep, so you're talking director? Director? This one? Yep. Yes.
What I want to happen. But the other one seems extremely critical.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go. Yes. Let's go down this rabbit hole. This is beautiful. Okay. So if you are using chat or using any type of AI, what you want to ask it is the secondary one. I am motivated by, because that's the fuel to give you your primary. So when you're going on to feel important, to feel encouraged, to feel uplifted, to feel confident, what you want to do is ask it the secondary one. And that will give you your primary, because that's your fuel. So you think of if you drive an unleaded vehicle and you put diesel in it, that's feeling unimportant from other people or other places, your car doesn't work, right? So what you want to do is fuel up properly. When you're going into AI, ask your secondary drive how to make it feel important. Now, if you are selling to somebody, you know what their drive is. I've got the drive book out there. Chapter 7 tells you how to discover people's drive. As soon as you know their drive, you're selling to them on their car because that's the destination they want. So if you're going to use AI to sell to somebody, you're going to use the primary drive. If you're using it for yourself to fuel your drive, you're going to use a secondary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Sorry, is your secondary relator? Okay. So I'm motivated by strengthening my relationships, having a power of influence, giving service, spirituality, and connecting with family and friends. So if you are right, whatever the problem is, let's do it for real. What's a challenge you have right now?
Well, in our control,
grandchildren, for sure.
And so we different opinions on
Okay, so let me walk you through. Let me see if I do this correctly. So you're a director, which is lifestyle. The ex-wife is offending the lifestyle you want to have, right? So that's the problem is how do I communicate to this woman? How do I communicate my desires? So you would go into AI and write that. Here's the problem. I'm motivated by this. Give me the solution. Because as you fill up your tank, as you learn to communicate properly with her, you will then have the lifestyle and the joy you want to have. It will, yes, because you're typing this. So if we go back to this question right here. So the struggle is, I am struggling with my ex-wife. She's driving me crazy. I am motivated by, that's the relator one because that's your fuel. What can I do to soften and help that relationship? And it'll instantly give you the answer. And that will then give you the lifestyle that you want, the freedom that you want, and the creativity you want. Question over here. I saw a hand up. Yes. Yes. Yep. So I created D.R.I.V.E. in 2006 and have played with it for 20 years and I've loved it and have shared it around the world. And now with AI, my goal is just to make everyone use it everywhere, anywhere. I just want to give it away to everybody because I think it's so profound. If you've spent any time on any type of AI platform, the second you put a personality behind it, it is life altering. Because I can go on there right now and say, okay, give me the top 10 personal development tips. And it'll give it to you through generic 1980s personal development. If you tell it what you are motivated by and say, now give me instruction, it is personal. No other, if you don't put drive with it or a personality profile behind it, AI is generic. So using drive gives AI a personality, and it's just insane. Yeah. Yep. It was a shower thought, actually. So I was writing my first book called Millionaire Dropouts, Inspiring Stories of the World's Greatest Failures. So I read over 2,000 biographies of people who dropped out of high school, middle school, and elementary school, and college. And I was writing this book, and my wife, who's my saint wife, I mean, she's been there forever, and she said to me, I really feel inspired. You should read How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I'm like, no, I've read too much. So my brain is bleeding. I can't read one more thing. She's like, please just read it. I said, fine. So I go to the library late at night. Never forget, chapter 2, first page, left-hand side, quote by Dr. John Dewey that said, the deepest urge in human nature is the desire to feel important. I thought, there's no way that's true. I gotta go prove him wrong. Now, he's been dead for 56 years, but in my mind, I gotta go prove this guy wrong. So I just started interviewing people. I interviewed thousands of people. What makes you feel important? What makes you feel important? That's when I realized that I saw this pattern. I always have a journal with me. And after doing this, and then I created a website that did it, and we interviewed tens of thousands of people. And after that is where we came up with this right here. After all the thousands of interviews, these keywords showed up all the time. And then I saw the pattern. These are lifestyle-based, these are community-based, these are knowledge systems-based, these are validation-based, and these are proof-based. And so over 20 years, it's just evolved and evolved and evolved. So. Oh, yeah. No, I interviewed thousands. No, 20 years. I've done this for 20 years, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been a massive love for me. I'm extremely passionate about it, and it's taken me literally around the world. So, what are the last questions? Yes. Yes. Validator relator. Let me see here. Oh, you know what? Okay, validator, relator. I was thinking back here when we did these. I can do it. Is that what yours is? Perfect. So validator, relator, right? Okay, I'll just make it personal for you. So, and I'm going to role play, correct me if I'm wrong. You use your relationships, your connections with people to get the respect, acknowledgement, being needed, being trusted, and being acknowledged. Okay? So And when I say use on your secondary drive, I mean you just have access to it. It's not being disrespectful. Let's go back to this. Mark Cuban on Shark Tank. Yeah, Mark Cuban's a validator. Okay, so here we'll use this one. Okay, so validators, primary, secondaries. So you use all these keywords right here, the family, the friends. So like when you get stuck and you aren't feeling important, you're going here to get it. Now, every drive can be met one of two ways, either internally, for you, by you, or externally, for you, by other people. The external is where it backfires. Anytime we look to other people, places, or things, let me ask you this. As a validator relator, do you ever feel exhausted from giving too much? Do you ever feel used and abused by always being the 4 a.m. friend, always going to bail people out? Yeah. So that's whenever you're going to other people, that's where it burns you. So these words may look like they're external, but you can make them always internal. So having a relationship with yourself, influencing yourself, serving the way you see a family, not looking to validation from them. So even like being a parent, because I used to be a director relator, now I'm a director executive. Being a parent, if you tell your child to go to bed and they're mad at you and you take that personal, that's external. But if you're a parent internally, like, I know this child needs to go to bed, otherwise tomorrow's going to be horrible. And that's just where that internal knowledge and that validation from the inside makes it internal. So, great question. Any other last thoughts or questions? We'll wrap her up. Yep, Matt.
Okay, so so what do you do with the last three? So,
Oh, the last three?
yeah,
Okay.
they're there.
They're there. They absolutely are, and they will show up. Let me show you. I do a mastermind on Tuesdays, and someone asks the same question, so I know exactly what you're going for. No, it's not there. It's this one. Okay, right here. So your why versus your how, your primary, your secondary, and then the other three. These three move based off environment and circumstance. So they will rotate depending. So I am not an intellectual at all, but I have read thousands of books. I've written 42 books. I've done a lot of intellectual things, but intellect does not make me feel important. What makes me feel important is the director. But these still will come into play, but they will rotate based off the environment and the situation that you're in. But your primary and secondary will not rotate unless it's very significant, a drama or a trauma. Yeah. You're welcome. One last question. Any other last questions you guys have? Perfect. All right. Well, let me end on this. When you use AI to fuel your secondary drive, you really do become bulletproof. When you look at where you want to get to, and I believe this to my core, it's a firm belief I have, nobody ever holds you back. Having read so many biographies, every challenge you have in your life, somebody in history has overcome it. There's not a new challenge that has been invented that somebody throughout history has not overcome. So let us use AI, let us use learning how to be validating from the inside out, that power that you have to free yourself. And if you do that, there's nothing you can't accomplish. And I mean nothing. We have one more last week live here, same time 7. What topic do you guys want next time? I like to make it interactive. What do you feel you want covered? Taylor. Yeah. Is that the business side of it or the personal side of it?
Oh, like the little focus.
Oh, yeah. Law creation? Okay, let's do that. I'll do that. I'll do that one next week for sure. What else do you guys feel like what do you want to personally cover and overcome? Driving business. And what area of business do you want? Sales? Do you want leadership? Do you want, what specifically in business do you want? Sales. Beautiful. We'll do mindset and we'll do drive with sales. And then if there's anything else, wait, do we have another? Yeah.
I feel like how to make drive.
Okay. Yeah. Using how to be more disciplined in actually using it. Okay, beautiful. Was there another one? Yes. Getting the roadblocks, what holds us back. So mindset, what holds us back, discipline, and business. That's all of it. Let's do it. I love it. All right. If you guys want, I've got the Drive book out there and the cards. You can Venmo if you want it. The little Drive stickers, steal those. Take those home, put them on your laptop. That way you know what drives other people. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for coming. We'll see you next week. And then we can just stay around Mastermind. We need to be out of this room by 9 p.m. So if you guys want to help us get into the hallway, we can sit in the hallway till as long as you guys want, asking questions, masterminding, anything. So thank you.